This is a very special episode of the Dig podcast. This is brought to you in partnership with the Northern Ireland Social Media Awards, of which I am the co founder. And I am delighted to be able to speak to our title partner, which is Martin from the Corner Bakery. What a story he has to tell, and one that I know you're all going to feel so emotional about, but also so inspired to hear such courage and bravery really in his entrepreneurial journey. A true ambassador for social media and using it for social good. I can't wait for you to hear from Martin Booth. Today on the Dig podcast, I am speaking to Martin Booth. Martin is the owner of Corner Bakery, which is based in Cookstown in Mid Ulster. But the Corner Bakery also supplies to over 100 stores all over the country. And he has a strong, very strong workforce of over 50 staff. He makes over 1 million sausage rolls a year. That alone is some stat. And I'm going to let Martin tell you all about his journey. But the one thing that I noticed about him that I know all of you are going to love, and this is through our recent work together, is that he's hardworking, just like the rest of us. He's passionate and he's determined, but most of all, he's respectful of people that he works with and for. And I really noticed that over the past few weeks. And I think that's a trait that sometimes can get lost in this busy, manic world of work. Respect is what's most important. And to me, it's just a trait that can't be learnt, and something which I hold him in very high regard for. So I'm so excited for him to be in the podcast today. I can't wait for you all to meet him. I know you're all going to want a sausage roll after this, as well as wanting to take a good hard look at what you're doing within your business. So I'm not going to hold back anymore. I'm going to introduce Martin to you. Hi, Martin. Thanks for coming on the Dig podcast today.
No problem. You're very welcome, and thanks for having me, Caroline.
No, it's an absolute honour. And I suppose to give people a wee bit of context, Martin and I, as I said in the intro, have worked together recently through the Northern Ireland Social Media Awards, which is I'm the co-founder of. And Martin, we were very proud to have as title partner for the Northern Ireland Social Media Awards. And I guess, whenever you think of a bakery and you're thinking, social media, there was like, how's this going to work? What are we going to do? But it's been an unreal journey, and one that we've had so much fun on, and we've learned so much together. But I just want to thank him first of all for believing in the social media awards, and thank you, Martin. Sorry for believing in the social media awards and coming on board. But Martin, the bakery, the Corner Bakery, like we can't just delve right in. Like the Corner Bakery, 70 years old. How have you ended up being the proud owner of the Corner Bakery? Let's take it right back to the start to kind of give people context. What's been your journey?
Absolutely. And there is a journey, and quite a turbulent roller coaster of a journey. So I grew up in Belfast, and I'll go right to it. My mum died having me. She had a choice either for me to live or her to die. She had a disease called Eisenmenger disease. So I grew up with my auntie, which was my mum's identical twin sister, and went to school, had a very good upbringing, and didn't really like school. I wasn't the strongest cookie in the class, but progressed through fifth form into sixth year and went to university and done a course called Interactive Multimedia Design, which is a mix of graphic design and web development. And done a small stint in the Daily Mirror as a graphic designer, and it absolutely bored me to no end. Nobody talking to me, and I love talking. And I was like, I'm going to be a teacher because I can't sit behind a computer all day, but I love IT, and that's what I've done. So I got on a plane to Liverpool and trained to be a teacher, and done a year there. It was absolutely fantastic. But at the end of it, found myself working in a call center because I couldn't get a job as a teacher in Northern Ireland or England. And I was scrolling through social media, and I seen this post that they were looking for an IT teacher in a town called Whittam, and that was in the south of England in Essex. So I sent an email, and within 5 days, I was boarding another plane to start my career as a teacher in Essex as an ICT teacher. And at that point, getting into a career was very, very excited, working in a really challenging school, but I'd always been ambitious. And from that point, I was really, really driven. How can I get promoted within education? And that's what I've done. At the end of the first year, I was appointed assistant head of sixth form. By the end of the second year, was promoted to head of sixth form. And by the end of the fourth year of my journey there, I moved schools and was appointed assistant principal of a large secondary school in Basildon. And I had a really, really good time in Essex, but, and this is where the but, I was around about 25, 26 at this point, and I was really struggling with a massive obstacle in my life, which was my sexuality. And at that point, I was between 20 and 25 stone, fluctuated. I found comfort in food. And I never forget it, assistant principal, this fantastic job, really having an impact within the school community. But I was struggling, and part of me couldn't cope with my sexuality. Well, it was two-pronged. One was my mum, she gave up her life for me. And I had this real belief at the time that she gave up from life. I can't keep the legacy on. I can't have children. And, it was a mindset. And, juxtaposed with that was um, being gay as a teacher is taboo, absolutely taboo. And it's something that I still feel strongly very about now is, that is, what the case is. It's very, very difficult for a teacher to say, oh yeah, I'm gay. So I was home at Christmas and I wasn't in a good place in my mindset financially. And I decided as soon as I come back after Christmas, I went to see the principal and I says, I'm resigning. And I had to do 4 months' notice, which was absolutely terrible. And I'll never forget it. It was the 2nd of April. I packed all my stuff up in my little car, drove to Liverpool, where it all began, get on the ferry back to Belfast, unemployed, no money. And I was like, my goodness, 5 years ago, I was in a really, really low place. And I was like, I've had enough of education. I can't go back into it. So I got a job as a graphic designer for a hospitality and leisure group. And I worked there and again was really unhappy with how I looked. Um, the office was in a gym. And I was like, my goodness, look at me. I'm the size of a house. And I loved what I was doing. Um, and I never forget one day I was sitting in the little cafe and I was eating chicken and broccoli. And this personal trainer came over to me and he says, you know what, I can see you're on this weight loss journey. I want to help you. Why don't I train you for free? 7:30 every morning. And that's what it did. And I signed up with a guy called Ollie, who's now my fiance. And um, he took me on that journey over that period of time. And in the August, I found myself actually leaving the leisure group, going back into teaching as a head of ICT and worked there. Um, and at that point, in the September of that year as well, Ollie, who we just got together, was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And he was going down the holistic therapy and, to try and conquer this. So we had only been together really, but he needed some extra cash to pay for this alternative. So I decided, well, I have a real passion for graphic design, so that's what I'm going to do. And I started taking on some freelance clients within the digital marketing space. And over the period of that 3 years, that really developed and clients started coming on board. And I seen that I had more of a passion for the digital marketing than education because I could be my own boss. I could choose what I wanted to do. And I'm not very good at taking direction. I was never very a good employee because I was always so driven and motivated. So I decided to, burn the boat with education and focus on the company Beyond Digital, which is a digital marketing agency now within Belfast. And that's a whistle stop tour of where we get up to. So I take you back to the 20th of September last year. We had a client within Beyond, which was True Wash, a man called Tim Anderson, who's a friend of mine. And we built that friendship through working together. And he owned this little bakery in Cookstown. And he told me on that day, the 20th of September, Martin, I've just got over cancer. I'm going to sell a bakery. And I was like, right, okay. So he rang me about 8:30 in the morning, and so at 9:30 I rang him back and I says, I want to buy the bakery. I says, you're
Martin,
joking.
before you tell us that there, but because I feel like you've just buried your soul there, and I can't let you rush on and we get to the bakery so much. Like, yes, I've known you for the past few months, but I didn't know that your mummy passed. Why would I? Like, it's a very, personal thing that you just shared with us, and one that made, as a mother, my eye and my heart beat so fast. And like, what a thing to happen, and your aunt to bring you up, and that journey that you've been on. Like, as for, just want you to take a moment there, like, as well,
Yeah,
because that's very emotional. And I know there's so much happened to people's lives that we don't know about, but that is all part of your journey, and has made you the person that you are today. And your mum will be so proud of you now,
yeah,
and everything that you've done. So you are keeping the legacy going,
yeah,
regardless of what you think in that way. But and also then to talk about your weight loss, because there's people listening to this podcast, and this is a business podcast, and we are going to talk about business and all of that. But business can't be separated from life. Our life
no.
is what makes us the people we are, and the journey that we've been on. So how much weight, like, I'm looking at you now, you look incredible, but how much weight have you lost?
Um, Around about 15 stone, just under 15 stone, yeah.
15 stone, like, incredible. Like, congratulations to you. And I know you feel better, as well as obviously visually you look, great, and you look healthy and all, but I mean, you feel so much better, don't you?
Oh, 100%, Caroline, it's, when you find comfort in food to fill a void of something you're not coping with, for me personally, that's what it was. So I had to look at, that void and deal with that. Because I would suffer from anxiety about, things aren't going right. I would probably think, oh, the worst is going to happen. And it's trying to, find a positive way to get over that. And the only person that was beating myself up, and the only person that was getting affected by my sexuality was me.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody cared.
Uh-huh.
And, and but if you had told me that when I was going through that, you would have, people, I would have said, well, no, everyone's going to hate me and this and that, and I can't do that. But it's not a crutch that I carry.
Mm-hmm.
My sexuality doesn't define me. I don't talk about it. I'm not, out there going, hey, look at me, I'm Martin, it's gay. It's nobody's business.
Yes,
And I live
exactly.
my life. Like, and, that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. But I'm sure it's been
Um,
a journey for you to get to that place of having that mindset. And was there anything that you did along the way? Did you speak to anybody that has helped you overcome those challenges? Because I know myself and things that I go through, and even at the minute, dealing with, I nearly need outside people to help me with a few things, because I
yeah,
can't get
no,
past my own mindset.
with that, I spoke to close friends, and,
Yes.
they helped me through it, accepting it, and, everything's going to be okay. Um, and, it's quite funny when, my aunt who, brought me up, I physically couldn't say those words to her, I'm gay. So I text her son and I says, oh, can you tell your mommy I'm gay?
Oh,
But for me, that message, lifted a burden, and it shouldn't have to be like that. And I know there's many gay men and women that will not have the positive response to coming out that I did.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm really grateful for that, people accepted me for who I was. And, you know, now I can move on with my life and, you know, not worry. It's not something that I even give a thought to now, because I'm Martin,
Martin.
I don't need to look at about being, oh, Martin who's gay, that really grates on me, I'm just Martin, it doesn't matter, who, what sexual attractions I have or, who I fall in love with, that's
Yes.
besides the point, because, those things are behind closed doors and, I'm a very independent person. So it's everything I do, it's just, to move forward in my life to create a better environment, and everything that I do, that's what, you know, I strive to do. So, was the weight loss journey easy? Absolutely not. Because people, oh, I just lost 15 stone. It was not, I had to make an awful lot of decisions, and I was forever on a diet. It was up and down and up and down. But it got easier when I felt comfortable with myself.
Yes.
And and that's the landscape of, how that went. And we'll talk about the bakery and we'll get on to that. But I'm still very conscious about what I eat. I don't eat a lot of things in here because, and it may be unhealthy, in my mind, but I could never go back to that person that was in a triple XL. I wear a small now. And when you see all these delicious pastries and buns, and honestly, if you're
They
listening,
are.
they are, but when you're in with them day in, day out, you do get sick of them.
Yes.
And they are great, but I would probably have maybe one a week, if that. And that's really, and it's a mindset that I'm in now. I don't overeat, I'm very, very conscious, but I don't do any exercise anymore, because I'm always on the go. And
Yes.
is it something that I would like to do? Absolutely. I don't love it. I hate exercise, but I know it's something that I need to do. So we're all on a journey. We
We
don't get
are.
everything right.
Well, you are now, Martin, the owner of the Corner Bakery, and how ironic, and you've just touched on it, that you would own a bakery after that weight loss journey. But you have to be disciplined, right? We all do. But so you
Absolutely.
were telling us about, so knowing Tim, who owns True Wash, and he owned this bakery. So take us from there then, just so we get a wee bit of an idea of how this happened.
Absolutely. And just before I go on to that journey, very, very quickly, everything I do in my life, I do it in the name of my mum, because you have to have a why, you have to have a purpose. And she had a main purpose by giving me life and, sacrificing her own. So everything I do, I always have that in the back of my mind going, I'm doing my mum proud here. And, that is the burning desire, that is the drive in me, that anything I do. So I just wanted to get that there because that's why I'm so driven.
But
It's not that,
I know it
yeah,
is. When you said that you thought that you weren't bringing the legacy on because of whatever choices that you were, whatever was going on in your life,
yeah,
like oh my God, as a mother, she is so proud. I feel emotional even saying that, but Martin,
yeah. No,
I know, we all want to make our parents proud, and that's no different for you.
absolutely,
So, yeah,
absolutely.
unreal, yes. But
Yeah.
so tell us now about how this all happened.
So, we'll go back to the 20th of September last year. He rang me at 8:30. I rang him at 9:30, and I says, Tim, I want to buy this bakery. And he was like, you must be joking. You're so good at marketing, and that's your business. And I was like, no, Tim, I'm really, really interested in it. So he was like, well, if you're that interested, drive down tonight when there's nobody in the bakery between the 5 and 6 o'clock in the evening. And I came down and I was like, oh my God, look at the size of this place. I don't know anything. Um, and it was like, now go away and think about it. And I was going up the road and I was like, oh my God, what have I done? I don't want to let myself down. I can't take that on. Look at the size of it. Sure, what do I know about baking? And I says, of course, I thought it was just this little small shop, and it wasn't. And I was at that point going, I can't say no, but like, where am I getting the money to buy this? You know, and that was, where I was at in that. Um, but I slept on it, and the next day I rang my accountant and I says, listen, there's this opportunity come about. it's never going to happen, but I'm going to put you through it. And I did. And, my accountant was like, that's a great idea, but let me see the account. So I rung Tim and I says, Tim, I'm really, really interested in this opportunity. Can you send me through the account? And within the hour, they were sent. And, from September till the end of November, it was, coming up with the deal, the structure, and that in itself was a challenge, because people, I remember sitting in a meeting and saying, I'm the stupidest person in this room, so you're using all these acronyms and massive abbreviations that I don't understand. So can we take it back down to layman's terms?
And did
And
you,
we
can I
did.
just ask, because we do talk about this a lot on the podcast, did you actually say, I don't know what you're talking about, can we bring it? Because
Absolutely.
that's a thing that a lot of people struggle with. They think they should know these things that they don't know, but no one knows unless they hold their hand up and say it. So you did say that, and that helped you, obviously.
Absolutely. And I can tell you what the point was around. There's a thing when you're buying a business called the EBITDA, and it stands for like the earnings before interest, depreciation, tax, amortization. It's a fancy word, but they could have says, this is the figure before you pay your tax and you pay X, Y, and Z, you know, uh, on that there sense. And they weren't being rude, but when Caroline, when you're in this and you're doing your thing in terms of even social, you take things for granted. Even a DM, like if I spoke to my granddad and says, "Oh, just send me a DM," he'd be like, "What are you talking about?" So
Uh-huh.
they weren't doing anything wrong. But in the same thing, you have to be mindful of your audience and who's sitting in front of you. And for me, that was really, really important. So we get the deal, through the line, and it was always my plan to start in the bakery in January. But for whatever happened on the 7th of December last year, Tim rang me and he said, Martin, I really think it's important you go into the bakery now. And I was like, right, okay, that's fine. So at 7:30 on the 9th of December in the morning, I was standing on William Street in Cookstown, and the staff had been told that there's a staff meeting happening at 7:30. Didn't know anything. And this boy walks up the stairs and Tim says, Mate Martin, he's the new owner. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I had to speak to these staff. Didn't really have a chance to speak about it. And I think for the context of the listeners, this bakery was established in 1951 by Tim's uh, grandfather and grandmother, Mrs. T, and her husband, Davy Turkington. It was then passed on to Tim's mother and father, Ruth and Geordie. And then Tim continued the legacy as the third generation. Him and his wife, Sharon, took this on. And, within the staff, and you briefly mentioned this, we have Anne, who's been here 50 years. We have Beth, who's been here 41 years. You have uh, Brian, who has been here, nearly 40 years. You have Ali, you have Ryan, and not to mention Anne, her daughter works here, who's been here under 30 years, and her daughter works here, who's been here for, nearly 7, 8 years. So the staff that you have, and I was listening to I listened to your podcast, and you talked about, people in retail not seeing this as a career. Staff here see this as home, as a career, and I had to be extremely mindful of that. And you spoke to the lady that is now managing the family
Yes.
jewelers,
That's Gemma
and
from Jack Murphy Jewelers. Yeah.
yeah, and it really resonated with me, about starting this journey in the bakery with, the humans come first, the resource comes second. And I had to, give my stance on the vision for this bakery. And I wasn't changing the recipe. I don't know anything about the bakery, but not enough people knew about the fantastic products. And before I walked in here, they were the nicest pancakes I'd ever tasted. The product is of great quality. But when you don't shout about your product, or you don't market it, you're doing a disservice to it. And that was my viewpoint. I wasn't excited about the bacon because, and that didn't drive me because the product was so good. I was excited about getting my teeth into the digital marketing strategy to shout about this fantastic business. And it wasn't about changing staff. It wasn't about, doing a complete rename. Now, I did change the name from the corner cake shop to the corner bakery because we do so much more than cakes. And, it is a bakery, it is a home bakery, and it's the second longest running bakery in Northern Ireland, and those were the things that I wanted to shout about with that. Um, and apologies because I've went in a absolute
No,
all over the show
no,
there.
you're okay because you've touched on the staff thing, and you talked about listening to Gemma's podcast where she talked about how staff are so important. And in your business, without your staff, you don't have a business. Like some people can operate as a single, bit person within their business. Your corner bakery's gone if those amazing people walk out. So what did you do? Because there will be people listening who have acquired a business like you that's been going for a long time, or perhaps staff morale is lost for whatever reason. What have you done, or what things have you put in place to kind of make the staff feel like they are the business and they are what runs it? Because that's so important, and they absolutely do. What kind of things could people take from this that they could do, perhaps?
Yeah, and that's a very good question, Caroline. And I think, set out what you're going to do and follow through with it. I did tell the staff that I would be here, 5 to 6 days a week, that I wouldn't change anything, that I would review their working conditions and, change them. And, I'm not here to, disrespect the previous owner. Tim and Sharon are still a good friend of mine, but, he had been on his own journey with this business. Then he was diagnosed with a terminal illness. So he wasn't in the right frame of mind. And the business wasn't at the forefront of his mind. So with that, and I follow, you have to follow through on what you're going to say you're going to do. I am here every single day. I did review the staff's working conditions and they weren't bad, but to try and boost morale, every single member of staff gets a card with a little incentive in it for their birthday. I did review everyone's rates of pay to see if they could be reviewed. Um, and the simple things about, thanking people for what they do,
Tell us about
thanking
Anne's birthday. Was it
Anne. Anne is I call her gangster granny, and from a HR point of view, that's not right. But me and Anne get on the absolute best, and she treats this place as if it's her own. And she just, it's she when you speak to her, she's a woman that makes your heart warm.
uh
And
But to
started
show
here,
appreciation to her, you did something
yeah,
really nice, didn't
yeah.
you? Like, tell us.
So we were, Anne started here when she was 15, and she'll not mind me saying it, but she celebrated her 65th birthday not so long ago, which marked 50 years in the bakery. And, for me, how many people in this day and age is going to stay in the same business for 50 years? And they're, very slim. So I had to, celebrate this. So I bought Anne a lovely piece of jewelry, to mark the length of time she was here, and got her flowers, and to see the appreciation and the tears on her face was just amazing. And Anne works every day so hard. She's the one every morning boiling the caramel because we make the caramel from scratch, and she's there, and you just see it. You would think that some days it's she's only been here a year because everything's done with so much passion. And, not taking away from the rest of the staff, all of the staff
Yes.
here, and I can confidently say all of the staff here turn up. Sickness is almost, not even a thing. And they work so hard for the
Yes.
good of this bakery, and they love it, and they love the products, and they do everything. And for me, that that was a massive bonus.
And
And
like listening, I've met all the staff, and there's a reason why the sickness levels are so low. It's a brilliant place to work with great staff morale and a great leader. And it takes a great leader I think to make staff happy, and I can see that you're doing that. Now I know it's a journey, and you've only, it's only just begun, but like you're putting the right things in place, Martin, for sure. Because your staff, like we were all at the social media awards on Saturday night, and they were loving life, and just the morale is great. And I think business owners that are listening just need to remember that without making their staff all of lives and things going on, and you have to respect that, and you
Absolutely.
absolutely do. So fair play to you, because I can
And
see.
just yeah, and just on that point of, when you acquire a business, I'm no expert, but because of how long they've been here, I had to be so sensitive to that. And you talk about baby steps. I mean, it was less than baby steps, of changing things to show that actually my interest and investments were not in trying to, just change things for the sake of it, but it was to show them the reason why.
Yes.
And that's now starting, and we're on a journey. We're on a very long journey of the bakery, and we're in extremely challenging times, which is another point that we'll probably touch on. But I just love it, and I think again, I talked about my purpose in life, but I feel a real sense of responsibility and accountability to this bakery because it is a legacy. I couldn't have started something like this, so I'm indebted to making sure that the legacy of these fantastic products live on because the corner bakery or the corner cake shop is a household name in Mid Ulster,
Mhm.
and that's something that it is my mission to ensure that that lives on and
And I
goes
think
forward.
I think you're seeing it as a household name now. You're going to want to see it as a household name throughout the whole country. I can feel that coming. So
Absolutely.
let's talk about how do you actually market a 70-year-old business? Like, what did the marketing used to look like, and what does it look like now, or the plan for the marketing? Like, so there be people listening who perhaps are stuck in the way it used to be and can't really evolve, but you absolutely are. So talk us a wee bit through the marketing strategy.
I mean, this is really simple for me because there was no marketing strategy at all. Sorry, my earphones are falling out.
You're all right. Go on ahead.
So I'll start again. So
Yeah.
this was really easy for me because there was no marketing strategy in place at all. There was little bits on social media, but nothing that, was to shout home about. And we all know the key to marketing is consistency and consistency in your message and in what you're going to do. Um, and the fortunate thing for me, and I know not every business has this, so I don't want to go, oh, he has, is that, I had access to a resource of marketing that could help me on this journey. And it's something that I am passionate about within that. So the very first thing that I done was to look at the brand, and it was getting that right. And I worked with a gentleman who is absolutely, his name's Ram McKinless, Submersive Designs. And his eye for branding is on point. And I had worked with him on a few projects with True Wash, and I says, Ran, I want you to create a brand for the bakery. I didn't want to do it myself because, I would be too critical, and I wanted somebody else to take the vision that I had for the bakery and create something that we all could be proud about because the old branding, I thought it was very gimmicky, cartoony, and it didn't represent the product. So we were on this journey, and, this is the new branding. We went for a purple because of the loyalty, the experience that the bakery had. You think of purple, you think of, you know, e- experience. Purple's just so warming, it's enriching, and it's not a color usually a bakery would use. And I wanted to stand out. And I wanted to play on the corner. So there is a two-tone of the colors where the COR and the NER, connect around this corner. And with that, it was about great taste is always just around the corner. And and talking about the legacy of it, that the bread is in the breed. We aren't changing the things whilst we use the finest of fresh ingredients. We continue to refine and hone our skills to create, everything that we have always created.
And can
And
I jump in there, because branding is like something that people struggle with. They think because they have a logo they have a brand. But you've mentioned there are all the you've mentioned all the things that go into a brand, like your I'm trying to think of the right, what's the thing you say, your brand identity,
Yeah,
your key values as a brand, all of that you put in there when you're talking about that. So that I'm gonna put,
because for me, Caroline, this is just a logo,
it's just a logo.
right? It means nothing.
Nothing.
I want, when you take away the CEO, the name, what the people represent by that, so it was about the message behind that,
Mm-hmm.
and the designer even come up with, a theme, a little story about the brand. And I'll write it out to you. It's on our email signatures. It's everything we talk about. And it's a corner bakery. Our products are made not just with the freshest of fine ingredients, but with the time-honored craft of three family generations. More than 70 years after George Anderson fired his first oven, we continue to hone and refine our skills, not just because making great bread is in our interest, but because it's in our breed.
Love it.
And it's to show that actually, whilst we want to move the bakery forward into, a more digital era, that, the foundations are not going to change.
No.
And for me, that is really, really important with any business, that, you have, your brand identity, your ethos, your mission statement, whatever that may be, let that make you grounded. But hardy, the foundations of a house is always going to go be there, but you can redecorate a room, you can, change the garden, you can change, you can paint the color of the door, you can change the windows, but the foundations and the love of a house is always going to be there. And for me, the foundations of this business was here, the love of the staff was here, Hargreaves built upon that. And that for me was, the journey of getting on, moving us online. So I'll get very quickly to that because I'm rambling. Um, being consistent on social media, posting, what we're doing, shouting about, the great things staff are doing. And we're just about to embark moving online, allowing people to access our products from a wider scope outside Middlester. And that comes with the challenges with, introducing delivery partners and making sure that it's compliant with our friends at Brexit. But we're there are only obstacles. We'll get around them. So you will see within the coming days, the introduction of an online platform that will allow people to access a few products. And as we get used to, shipping products to customers, then will that process get a lot easier, in time. So
And like that's a challenging movement that you're doing, I know, but one that is absolutely necessary for your vision of growing the brand throughout to be a household name throughout the whole country. So,
absolutely.
how are you going to get the word out there that this is happening now? You can talk about some of the marketing things that you're doing at the minute,
Yeah,
absolutely. So,
absolutely. So it'll all start with organic social media, posting, shouting about that. And that will be layered with a paid strategy across Facebook and Instagram. And then what I will do is utilize the right influencers that will have that align with our brand. There's no point me getting, a boxer to promote it because it just wouldn't be right. But I'm going for the family name, and I want people that have families, where, I could maybe send her Halloween box or a Christmas hamper and they can do things as a family. And, that's really, really important. And I think those three elements of your organic social media, your paid marketing, along with the right influencers, um, and the use of PR, is absolutely enough to get out there, because I don't want to sicken people, but I just want them to know that, we're here, this is what we're doing,
yes.
and, come try it out.
And I think that it is such a saturated, like people are getting content through at them flat out online. And also
Absolutely.
it's about standing out too in the things that you do. So, any tips for people, any tips for business owners that feel like they just can't get noticed, Martin? Anything that you think they should be doing?
Uh, and I always listen to podcasts, and the key thing that I always hear is don't give up. People judge their business on the amount of followers they've got. And I know, for some it's an important metric, but it's vanity. You could have 20,000 followers and the return on investment of them being actual customers could be minimal. Or you could have, an army of 500 people that eat, live, and breathe your product. you know, nur nurture them, foster them, engage with them. That's what it's all about. It's not about having, and I was so delighted when Instagram took away the whole 10,000K mark where you weren't able to use a link or swipe up. You know, focus on nurturing a small community of people because you know what? They are the micro body of people that will shout about your product and it will, that's what you need to do. And that, the bakery doesn't have 10,000 followers. And does it bother me? No. And, the types of paid advertising that you put out, I've just, spent a small allocation of our marketing budget on settling the debate between a sausage roll bap, is it right or is it wrong? I didn't do that, because I thought it was hilarious. It was a good way to hook people in, to get them engaging with the profile. So I can then, use the data from that to retarget them for when we have products that may be of interest to them.
Love it.
And don't always go for the sale. You have to build the audience, and then nurture that audience and then they will come. I could have put an ad up. Very first ad was run from the bakery account and I could, oh, here's a £30 bundle going back. The return on ad spend it wouldn't have been there because there would be no audience to sell. So you got to nurture that cold audience, turn them to warm. And for me, that is my strategy for moving online. And let's not forget, being the title sponsor for the Northern Ireland Social Media Awards, people that ask me, why is a bakery the partner? But it was a no-brainer. It was a way for me to get in front of a lot of people. And, you're a Mid-Ulster girl, Caroline, and I knew that by partnering up with the Social Media Awards, having, you there was great because already you weren't cold. People from the bakery and this community will have known of you, will maybe put, A and B together and go, right, oh my God, is that the bakery in Old Town Street in Cookstown? Yes. And then you have Annette from Carrickmore, who hosted Social Media Awards. So it wasn't just, oh yeah, I'm going to be the title partner, great. And the return we've gotten that, it's very, very hard to measure, but, we're busier than ever. And, for me, that was an absolute bonus. And I really loved that journey. And I spoke about it briefly on Saturday at the awards when I says, this was the first step on our marketing journey.
Mhm.
And it was a no-brainer, to say the least. And it's about, I just don't want to sponsor things for the sake of sponsoring. Oh, look, there's a corner bakery again. It has to be right.
Yes.
And,
And Martin, thank you for saying all of that. And absolutely on our side too, we would never embrace a title partner or any category partner that we thought couldn't get the rewards. Like it's not about
absolutely.
money, it's about businesses succeeding because of the relationships and the collaborations that they do. And I guess if there's businesses listening, be more strategic about your marketing, as in what's the end goal? Can I achieve it by doing this? But consistency is one of the things I heard you mention. Um, Standing out by doing things different. Like you wouldn't have thought the Corner Bakery would be the title partner of the Northern Ireland Social Media Awards,
No,
but it absolutely was, and it absolutely worked because we worked as a team. And I would say there's a lot of people come to me sometimes when I mentor and they say I worked with that person and it didn't really work. And when we sit down and look at it, they never actually said what their goals were, what their vision was. They had very little meetings other than just saying whatever the campaign was. So you can't expect marketing in general to work without it being like a journey that you analyze and evaluate every single day nearly, right?
no, absolutely. And we're just at a quarter 3, just in the quarter 4. And, a little bit of advice, I think, well, it's what I do and it's what we done with clients and beyond, when I was there is, what is, set one goal for each quarter
Yes.
and focus on that. So the quarter 3 goal for the bakery was engagement. It was getting the name out there. Quarter 4 with Black Friday, Halloween, Christmas. It's about, okay, can we convert some of those warm audiences now into customers. And then in quarter one, it's asking them for feedback. You
Okay,
know,
good. Okay.
so it's about, imagine having four goals for the year and them being linked around your marketing efforts that lead to sales. And I think personally, that's what has to happen. It could be a project you're working on, it could be a bundle, a course, whatever, but I do think, and I would be awful at this, is trying to have too many plates spinning at once. If I look at our business now, we've Cake School on the horizon, we have Halloween, we have Christmas, but our main focus is going to be Christmas because yes, Cake School will be there, it'll get some attention, it will be in the strategy, as will Halloween, but our key focus is going to be Christmas. And, that could be right, that could be wrong. Some people may disagree with me, but I want to get one thing right and do it really, really well, as opposed to trying to focus on three or four things and dropping that plate and the market and not being strong.
Well, just to recap, Martin now has the country eating sausage roll baps. Now, I
Literally.
never had a sausage roll bap until Saturday night. I'm absolutely, I'm afraid to say that I am possibly addicted. But I just want to give people a wee bit of context, and then we're going to kind of move things on. But I mean, whenever we interviewed Martin for the corner bakery when we were out in our camper, we started talking about sausage rolls, and then we talked about sausage roll baps, and we had a conversation around it. And I learned a lot that time because it made me realize that in order for me as an influencer that does influencing campaigns and as a business with the social media awards, I can't actually do my best for you unless I know all about you and what you do. And ideas sprung from our session that morning, even though we were only having the crack. And the next thing, we were serving 450 people sausage roll baps in the name of the corner bakery on Saturday night. And like huge a knock-on effect from like a simple conversation. So I guess what I'm talking to business owners and probably influencers here, that they need to get together and explore the campaigns that they're running, to the absolute max in order to get the maximum results. A one conversation, one email is not enough to get actually traction because we didn't plan it. We didn't know it was going to happen, the sausage roll bap situation. And now, like my brother said, okay, I got a, now he didn't get it in the corner bakery, but he got a sausage roll bap this morning. But there will be because he's in Island here. But I mean, there'll be massive amounts of people now all talking to you about that, maybe buying it in your store.
Absolutely.
That's the main aim of the game when you do campaigns with people. So don't think they're flop for a reason, perhaps, and maybe it's to do with not enough kind of collaboration and conversation and brainstorming and all of that, right?
Absolutely. And you touched on it, Caroline. I think the key thing about all this is have fun, enjoy it. Because see, when you take the fun out of it, and yes, it will be stressful at times, but enjoy it because that's when, the ideas happen. When everyone's so stressed and nothing, set it aside and come back to it. That day in the little camper van outside the bakery, we did have a laugh, and that's where the ideas come. And I think I look at the team, and when we have our weekly meetings, the best ideas, the best things happen when we're really engrossed in it, we're enjoying it. Do we have heated debates here? Absolutely. Is there times that we want to kill each other? Absolutely. It's business. But, there's great ideas that happen, and it's when the fun's happening, the cracks going, that, that's when you love it and that's when you enjoy it.
And you know what that
And
brings it down to? Social media is social. So if you're being
absolutely,
social with your ideas and your team, great things are actually going to happen on social media because of that. I firmly believe.
100%. I
Um,
absolutely agree.
Martin, like there is no end to our conversation. I could talk to you like there's so much, and possibly next year or whatever, you'll come back on and tell us about how this marketing journey has gone and all the key things that you've been doing since you have acquired the bakery. Because I know you're at the very early days, but look at the impact you've made already, like huge.
I'm gonna finish on not a negative, Caroline, but I think it's really important because listeners might be thinking, God, he didn't talk about that. What is he doing about it? And and it goes back to the market is the current challenges we faced around cost of living, energy, staffing, ingredients. And I want to talk about that. And we don't have any choice but to invest in marketing. and to find new ways of generating income. For example, a bag of sugar for us used to cost £13.50. It's gone up to 25.70. So we have to do things. Now, I'm not saying that to, go, oh, the bakery's flopping. We've put things in place because we knew we were getting here. But it is a challenge in times, and we have to allow and find ways to generate more income. And, moving online, is it something that I wanted to do this early on? No. But there's no perfect time to introduce something. You just got to do it and refine it when it's happening. Listen to the people that matter the most, your customers. They will tell you if it's working or not. They will give you the brutal, honest feedback. And for me, that's something that, I'm embracing, because I would always wait for perfect. Perfect never happens. And then you're like, right, I should have done that, 9 months ago. So we are in challenging times. We were very much a bricks and mortar business. Your customers coming in, we deliver out the our shops. But to get through the next 6 months, which I think are going to be, extremely challenging, it's exciting because we're going to introduce new things to the bakery that's going to be unsettling for everyone, but it will, give us the extra buffer of cash flow that we need to get through these times. And remember, what goes up has to come down. It's the law of polarity. So with this, we are going to come out the other end of this. We come out the other end of COVID. But find ways of using your marketing to try and generate more sales and income. It's really important.
It's so important, and we can't give up. We can't, just because we're in a cost of living crisis, it doesn't mean that we cannot continue with our businesses. So as you said, we have to find new ways that might not have been on the agenda, but you absolutely are. I can't wait to be able to buy
Yeah,
corner bakery products online, because sometimes I can't get
absolutely.
over to Cookstown. I only live
No,
like 20 minutes away, but still, convenience is what we need when it comes to practice
yeah.
like yours as well.
And just, I will finish on this. I see my journey, and if I'm half the person that this lady is, I will be so proud. It's Una from Mars Pharmacy, because our journey's so similar. Where she acquired the pharmacy, a traditional business, I've acquired the bakery. She used marketing to, pivot online in-house, and I take so much inspiration from her now and what she's done. And if I can do that with this business, then, and that's that, I use the vision that Una had and what she's done. And if I can replicate that, because there's no point, there's no bad thing of copying somebody. I want to copy what she's done, and put that into this business. And I see no reason why it can't be done.
Una's going to be delighted. I was talking to her on Saturday night, and she just loves to help and inspire other business owners. So
Absolutely.
there's no copying. It's called, leading by example. And
Absolutely.
you're absolutely taking her business model and replicating it, trying to replicate it for your own. So she'll love that, Martin.
Yes.
I'll tag her in this when we put it out. So yes, I could talk to you all day, Martin. Me and you talk too much whenever we get together. I wish that I was sitting there right now to have a sausage roll back with you, but I'm going to go and make one
Absolutely.
in my house. I just want to say, from the Northern Ireland Social Media Awards, Neve and I have never been prouder of having you as a title partner and everything that has happened. And and from the Dig podcast, for you being a guest and sharing like the most intimate things there that you shared, probably the most intimate podcast that I've ever done. But it reinforces what I always say: like, we have lives, and there's stuff happening that actually totally throws a spanner in the works when we're on our working journey. But you totally opened up there, and I just want to say thank you so much for that, because
No, thank you.
it's not easy done.
You can't leave your problems at the door. I hate
No.
that saying, leave your problems at the door. You can't, because it affects everything you do. And, I'm always mindful of that, people are having problems. How can you accommodate them?
I know, you're so good. You're so good. There's going to be so many people going, "Oh my God, it's so good to hear somebody else is going through a load of stuff in their lives." Martin, where can people now follow the journey of Corner Bakery? What social handle?
Yes,
What
we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. It's Corner Bakery and I. Check it out.
and is there
It's
an upcoming website released yet? Is there a waiting platform
there.
or anything?
There's an upcoming website, cornerbakery.uk. And by the time you
Put
listen to
this out.
this, that will be up.
Good. Can't wait. Good luck with everything. No doubt I'll be WhatsApping you later, and we're always on WhatsApp. But thank you so much
No
today
worries.
for being a guest on the Dig podcast. It was an absolute honor.
Thank you very much, Caroline.
That was an emotional one for sure, but just shows you when you have a dream and you have a vision, even the biggest challenges in life can drive you on rather than stop you. So I hope you remember Martin's story when you hit your next challenge, and just know that we're all in it together and anyone can really achieve their dreams with hard work and determination. Don't forget, if you listen to the podcast episode, remember to screenshot and share on social and tag Dig for Success so I can reshare. And until the next time, remember, giving up isn't an option. We have to work hard. This is our business after all. No one else is going to do it for us.